Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Daily AI Show. We are talking today about is multimodal RAG the answer? And we are, if multimodal RAG is the answer, then what is the question? Of course, is the next piece of that. Before we get into that, I want to say that I am joined by my co-host Junmi and Carl, and I am hosting today, and I am Beth. And what we want to talk about right now is retrieval augmented generation, but multimodal retrieval augmented generation. So I'm now gonna put on my Andy hat, ignore the AI exchange, and this now says Andy. And retrieval augmented generation is an AI technique that enhances the capabilities of large language models by incorporating an external knowledge source that is the source of truth, right? So it's an extended source of truth. And it matters because it addresses several key limitations of traditional language models. So it allows improved accuracy, right? Because it gives more accurate and up-to-date responses. It can actually, you can go out to the external knowledge source and verify the information or pull in the information to be able to then generate the actual message response. It reduces hallucinations, and that's sort of what the thumbnail meant. Like, what is the question if multimodal RAG is the answer? And one of those questions is, how do we address hallucinations? Because of course large language models are always hallucinating. We only call them hallucinations when they're not accurate. But large language models outside of a RAG system do not have an internal function that says this is right or this is wrong. This is more probable or less probable is the calculation that they're doing. Okay, so reduced hallucinations. The external knowledge acts as like a factual grounding. So it's minimizing the likelihood that it's going to generate something counterfactual or just false. It allows for expanded knowledge, so you can bring in information that wasn't a part of the initial knowledge source when the initial LLM was trained. Now you can bring in a subset of specific knowledge or up-to-date knowledge. And contextual reference. So the retrieval process ensures that generated responses are more contextually appropriate and aligned with the given query. And multimodal RAG takes that concept a little further by incorporating various data types. We've talked about multimodal things a lot in the last couple weeks. So what multimodal means is information coming via different modes, right? So in addition to text, images, audio, sometimes even video data. What we're talking today is likely more images, and specific images like charts or like one of the examples is the IKEA instructions, right? There's text there, but there's images there. And to really understand how to put together the interestingly named thing that I'm not even going to try to pronounce, those need to work in concert together. Right. You can see that's also true with financial information and other things like that. So that is my Andy intro. I'm going to take my Andy hat off, and Junmi, tossing it to you. Yeah, tell us what you think.
So, thank you. Fantastic facsimile of Andy's intro. One of the things I wanted to highlight, and we've mentioned this in the show description, is that we're going to be talking about the new Llama Cloud because they're making some very strong claims about how to process PDFs. And so PDFs over the last couple of decades have been like a primary document format, right? Just easy easy portable document format. That's what PDF stands for. It's an easy way for you to lay out a page, put in all of your data, your image, your text, and all those kinds of things, and then send it off. And it'll keep that same format and presentation. That was the big selling factor. What this causes a problem for LLMs is that there's a bunch of information there that just isn't useful, right? So all the page layout information in a PDF is useless to an LLM. It doesn't interpret it as text. It just interprets it as, non-usable tokens, essentially, and that can cause LLMs to really bog down in processing and things like that. So Llama Cloud. So Llama Cloud is part of the feature set of the platform Llama Index. Okay, and so it's a service that is focused on providing parsing and extraction processes for documentation so that it can be the back end of your RAG system, right? They introduced Llama Cloud as their multimodal RAG offering. All right. And so there's a couple of different ways that multimodal RAG is implemented, and that's either in like the same vector space, or you have separate spaces and then they're drawn upon to do their comparison and things like that. So the way that Llama Cloud's approach is, it's part of their parsing structure. So they have something called Llama Parse, which allows them to take a look at a PDF and able to extract the text, identify and extract the images. That's the multimodal part, and toss the rest. All right. And so I did a quick run I just grabbed the newest archive research paper, which is an interesting one. As a side note, this access thing is a API focused agent research paper. So definitely check that out. That might be in the next news episode, honestly. But it was able to parse out all the text and identify all the images and give a markdown version of the entire document. So Markdown is really easily digestible by other LLMs, right? So whatever LLM you are using with the Llama Cloud system or the Llama Index system is going to be able to read that output really easily. It provides an excellent description of the images that it finds, and it provides you the markdown, the plain text version, the JSON version, and compiles all the images that it found. So if you need to reproduce those images, or that needs to be grabbed, everything is identified and tagged so that when you're using your RAG system, you can go, oh yes, this is image 1.3. Okay, that's what I need to show the user because they're requesting this information. So while we haven't had a chance to do a full, deep dive into it or review, it looks very promising, right? And that was the main thing that Llama Cloud, part of Llama Index, was supposed to offer. And so far, it seems successful in being able to parse all of those individual pieces of information. Now, right now, they are only talking about images in PDFs, specifically selling it to business applications because you'll get charts and diagrams, workflows, and things like that. But hopefully this will be the basis of other forms of medium. So like video, audio.
Right.
If we can do those other modals, right? Those other modes, that would provide a more complete solution. So that's kind of where we're at with it right now.
That's great. Thank you, Junmi. I love that you went out and experienced the parse yourself. Justin has a really great question. Is a RAG search, even a multimodal RAG search, only as good as the LLM, its training data, and reinforced learning, HF, human something. It might reduce errors with external info, but how it handles the new data still depends on its natural abilities. Carl, do you have thoughts about that?
Yeah. Oopsies. Yes. So it's a reinforcement learning with human feedback, and I think in terms of RAG search, one of the key things that I'm always yes to the LM, yes to the training data, of course, but it's also how that information is chunked and how it's separated into the vector database, whether you're using Chroma, Pinecone, whatever you're using. That's I'm always curious about what something like OpenAI is using versus something like Microsoft Azure AI is using. Because when you look at the two different systems, they're using the pretty much the exact same large language model. Let's say the training data is the same, so hence the the reinforcement's learning kind of the same because it's all in the same LLM, but the vector database seems really strange because it's how it's chunked, how many characters per chunk, what it's how it's doing it, how it's retrieving it from that database. The one in Azure, or the one that I've been using or have done with clients in Copilot Studio, is terrible. It wouldn't pick up certain things versus the one that OpenAI uses, same custom instruction. It works amazing. So that's where the implementation of that database and the implementation of the whole system itself, that's the big difference. And how those things have implemented, because some custom builds for us were better than others, especially at the beginning when we first started doing custom builds with RAG and LangChain and LangFlow and so on. Just some systems were better than others. And actually, this gets me into a bit of a tangent, because when I hear, like, say, for example, HubSpot Breeze or Salesforce Agentforce. So now I know they have customer agents in there, whatever they're calling them, that answers questions based on RAG principles, where you take, let's say, website data, like you train on the website. I'm always curious to know, how is that going to compare to, let's say, either a third-party provider like a Dante or a Chatbase, or a one that you build yourself? Because, and I'll get to the multimodal stuff in a second and to tie it all back, but when you implement these things, there's a very specific way you do it that incorporates a lot of different pieces. But when Salesforce and HubSpot implement it, just from other things they've implemented in the past, you have to take a little bit of compromise because you're providing it to a really, really wide base. Why? Like, HubSpot's base is huge, so obviously they want everybody to use it. Salesforce base is huge. I don't know how you're going to process all that data into, I don't even know what RAG system they are. I doubt they'll even allow you to switch large language models, because obviously some models, I just found some models are better at answering specific type of questions in specific industries better than other type of models. and the type of questions too, and the only way you'll be able to know that is through testing. Like, you'll see the questions come in, or you work with your subject matter expert in said company. You test. You're like, oh, we'll switch models. You test. Oh, that actually works better. Versus these companies and their customer agent, which I have a feeling the intended purpose is to answer very, very straightforward questions. Once you start getting into the complex, that's when I assume, and maybe I'll be wrong, that your answers, that's when the hallucinations will start, or it has the instructions is built, the non-seeable instructions that I don't know how to answer this, take it to whoever, which we usually build into the custom instructions anyway. So saying that, because I have a new client that wants us to do this, but very adamant, I want you to use HubSpot Breeze. And I was like, it was literally announced last week. So no one has actually ever used this thing before. And so, yeah, but we love HubSpot. I'm like, okay, sure, we'll see, and we'll see how it is. Now, tying it back to multimodal RAG, I think when you were talking about it, Junmi, the images and the PDFs are to me one element of. So this goes into, I believe, the future where we have it evolved from the crappy chatbots that are logic based, and you have to pick an answer, and you get frustrated because it doesn't answer your question, and you can see all those people ask the question that's not in the, and it gives a stupid answer. It gives like the predetermined answer. I'm like, that's not what I asked, but it can't connect that. So you get frustrated. And it evolved with AI to the RAG implementation that we have now, where you can ask it and it responds just like Claude, Llama, ChatGPT. It answers that way, but it also it really hinges on how good the custom instructions are and how good that the data that has been that's been put into the vector database. So that's part two. But now, if you think about it, now that we have everyone got advanced voice, like all Plus and Teams users, right? Llama announced, Meta announced I saw it yesterday. I don't know if anyone has it. They said they're being deployed into WhatsApp, Instagram straight out. But we saw their voice feature. Google has theirs, obviously waiting for Anthropic to drop theirs, and everybody else. So I'm just waiting for an API for that. So imagine connecting those advanced voice models to a RAG system and being able to have that conversation. That's part. I consider this multimodal because voice is part of it. So imagine having that conversation where you don't have to type it out, or you have the option to type and talk. Now combine that with, oh, I want you to show you this picture. Can you, let's take real estate. I want this type of house. Oh, and then it would search its vector database for home models that match that criteria, both voice and image. And it would come back like that would open the door to a lot more useful than just typing and getting answers. So that, from a multimodal perspective, I think those are key elements, the voice part and being able to pull back out images, because in some instances you can, but it's very difficult to the amount of work I've had to try to do from, like, say, an assistance API or even a custom GPT, it's very tough to do it. So when those models start coming out, being able to not just process images that's in the database itself, but process the multimodal aspects of the user's questions, being able to upload and see and view and maybe view in real time, to me, that changes how businesses interact online, because then I don't need to go through your website. I can just say, hey, I can start talking to the business because it's trained, hopefully, ideally on the business. That's one. And then I can interact with it with image first, then video next, maybe.
Yeah. I think.
So yeah.
Yeah. Go on.
Sorry. And then the last piece is like, so imagine you doing that while, let's say, podcasting is all about doing something else while listening. Imagine you're in your car or you're out for a walk. You don't need to look at your screen. You're just like, hey, what's this? What's this? What's the price? Give me all these things. I'm taking a picture of this right now. I'm walking. And then the last piece, obviously, we want is the agentic features. Hey, book me that meeting, or I want to buy this right now. Put it on my credit card. All good. Send it. Like, that is kind of the steps that I'm hoping this new multimodal RAG incorporation will be, because I think that's a really, really, really cool future.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that you're looking at it from the client side for multimodal, and that's that's the other side of the coin for what we've been talking about with multimodal RAG, right? So the RAG side, and especially Llama Index, that's all a platform for you to access via API and, make it part of your ecosystem. So if a company is, like you said, for real estate, is going to have all of their homes available and all of that information trained, that's just their side of it. But that client side multimodal, I think that's what we're getting out of the Apple Intelligence, and we're seeing the AR glasses that Meta just announced, or their new ones anyways, where you have that human, their HCI, the human computer interface, that barrier becomes lower. Because with voice, like you said, that, for me anyways, personally, that's way easier. It's way easier for me to just talk to it as opposed to typing out. I was never a really fast typer. I always look at the keyboard, as some of you have probably noticed when I'm messaging. But that component just lowers that barrier for me to accept whatever information is coming from the site that I'm going to. And with the agents, that's even a lowering of the barrier. I don't even have to go to your website. My agent goes, finds it, right? So having a strong backend for the company with their RAG system or their multimodal RAG system, so that they can take advantage, especially something like real estate's a fantastic example, because everyone's going to have pictures and or video of all of the homes, right? All of the houses, all of the buildings, the outside, the inside, going through those virtual tours, all of the pertinent parameters, cost, age, zoning, all of that kind of stuff. And so being able to accurately parse that information, identify it, tag it, so that the LLM that they're using, or the AI that they're using, can pull that up just because someone asked, hey, I want a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, or and I really like that example of, this house looks great, let me take a picture of it, or, with my glasses, take a picture of it, and just have it's like, find out about this house and find out if they're willing to sell, and then just go out. Anything that automates my life a little easier, that's what I'm super interested in. So if MMRAG is that next component for offering that, I'm for it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm thinking as you all are talking, I want to go back to something that Carl said about it depends on how the vector is being created, how it's being chunked and stored. And like, imagine that you needed somebody to come out of the house, right? So you're waiting outside the house. You don't get to go inside the house and see who's in the house. You're asking for someone to come out of the house, and you don't know what's in the house, right? Is it one room and everybody's just hanging out in a big crowd there? Or is it like there are specific rooms and there's a way that the walking through the house flow to the door where you are asking for this person to come out of the house? Like, that's sort of what we're talking about in terms of the chunking that matters, right? So Microsoft and OpenAI seem to be chunking differently, even if they are using basically the same LLM, because Microsoft's LLMs all come from OpenAI because of their investment. The other thing that I was thinking, because Carl mentioned voice, and we've all gotten OpenAI's voice, but to my knowledge, no one has gotten the vision part of what was shown when that OpenAI advanced voice was first shown to us, which is that you can that your phone not only has ears to hear you and converse back and forth, but it also has eyes with your camera. And so now you can have a live conversation and show it something, right? Like, I want you to tell me this. The workaround for that is that we all take pictures and then give the picture to the LLM, which is a multimodal interface, and then the LLM comes back to us about that. Carl, I know you've been looking for voice. I know you've been looking for a vision.
Yeah, I think too, remember that OpenAI demo where the I think the person was, I think he was blind or visually impaired
Mm.
in some way, and that person was just walking around, and it wasn't taking pictures, it was in real time, I believe, showing, right? And when we were, I think Roman from OpenAI was in France, and he was showing, a map of the Paris, like the transit system, which is very complex, and was showing how, oh, I'm here. How do I get to the Eiffel Tower? And it would tell you, and you didn't upload it. It just he was just showing it in to his I think to his laptop cam, and it pointed it out really well. So I think like that, imagine that implementation into a RAG system as a business. That does, for different types of businesses, does change a lot of those things. Because if you think about it, let's take the real estate example, or really any kind of visual where you have to visit someplace. You are going through a home with your phone in real time, and you're like, hey, I'm in the house right now. I need to know, what's the square footage of this room? Oh, that's whatever square feet. Or if you're checking out, let's say commercial, you're checking out a new office building, it's like, hey, tell me about this room, or tell me what I can put in here. Oh, you can put in blah, 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 this space, this. But then you can literally point it to anything, even from like retail. Like you're in a store with your camera, just pointing at things that you might want or have questions about, and it, because the store has integrated it into their system, it recognizes said object, and this is this is what you can do. And that's, to me, that's super, super simple. I can't even think of the more complex uses that each and every single industry could potentially do. And then the comment here from Gwyn and Justin about the potential for any visually impaired person, any, with that, because it becomes your set of eyes. So before everyone gets Neuralink, you use your phone to be your, essentially your view of the world. It's like, hey, turn on camera, show me what I'm like, show me this. What are you seeing? And it's like, it describes you what you're seeing, right? So that yeah, before you get the chip embedded into your brain and you see what Elon wants you to see.
Right. Well, and then just goes out to that next step too. Like that medium step is the glasses. Like,
Yeah.
like when you were describing, like, oh, show me, this aspect of the house or whatnot, immediately my head went to inspections.
Sure.
You're going
Yeah.
to buy a house, you need to go look at it, right? And so a lot of times you do the virtual tour, and then you do the then the in-person tour, right? Because you can't see
Mhm.
everything currently just through the virtual tour. So just imagine if you're just walking through the house and your system picks up, oh, that looks like black mold, or that's
Yep.
water damage on the ceiling, or these pipe fittings are, or just look at the roof, those kinds of things to identify, oh, does this look good? Is there problems here? And it may ask you to check a different angle and those kinds of things. Your shopping example was great too, because what if you want to do comparative shopping? Right? Sure, the store is going to have its own AR layer saying, "Oh, hey, buy this. This is on sale."
Yeah.
Well, those kinds of things. But let's say you're clothes shopping and you're looking at the rack and you're going, is this my size? You know, we've talked about that before, just having your parameters set into your system and you go, yep, that's yours. Or it picks it up and pings it. It's like, oh, all of these things are the things that you're looking for. This is the right color. This is the right cut, this, and all those kinds of things. And then you're looking at a shirt and it's like, oh, okay, well, this store sells it for $20, but, search my favorite other stores. And it's like, oh, it's half off over here right now. It's like, oh, okay, well, let's see if they got price matching or something along those lines. So I like that empowering sense, right? Because right now, when we do online shopping, we're looking for the best deal, or
Yeah.
what's convenient, or all those kinds of things. So an additional layer of information, and I think that's what AR and VR provides us, is that additional layer of information.
So
And
let's take that even to whether it's sports, or I'm looking at your background there in terms of gaming, and I picked up Space Marines too, and I'm not a space Warhammer 40K. Sorry, Beth. We may if you don't know what we're talking about here, it's a tabletop game, in a video game. But I was thinking about it. Imagine for sports, you have this real-time video, and I don't know if they'll ban this, but you'll have this camera, or the coach will have an assistant holding a camera, and imagine that's getting real-time feedback, and it's going directly into the ear of the coach, and be like, yeah, this team's running this formation, this is the probabilities are this, and this. So recommended you do this, right? It could be
this is 83% chance of being successful.
83%, 63%, 23%. Let's take that into any kind of situation where you need strategy, any situation. So the situation, to me, I don't think this will happen in a court of law, but imagine you have I know a lawyer is going to be crazy enough to do this. Take your phone in, you start recording, you have this thing connected to your ear, and it's really small, you can't hear it. Then they hear the arguments from one to the other, and then in real time, that AI is like, yeah, so the defense is trying to do here, I would recommend these strategies right now. Or right, you go on break, like it's just it's your ear, you're like, okay. And the whole
or
thing
just
is
watching the faces of the jury to see their micro expressions, to see if what you just said landed or not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It was like juror number 6 and 12 and 1. You may want to try this strategy. And then you go in there and it's like, well done. The facial tick has done this. And it's like, but you pissed off the judge.
Right.
So dial that back. And then it's like, the defense attorney is going to do this strategy in 65% of the chances based on all the court cases we've ever seen. So you may want to do this. And that's, again, like from a strategy perspective. Now, imagine you had 01 sticking in your ear too, right? It's hearing. It's going to take forever, but it's going to get faster until we get Jensen's new Blackwells and everything. But as that gets faster too, then you can go into big strategy meetings. So anything where you're planning out massive campaigns, I don't know what that would be. Like whether it's campaign, just a, those brainstorming sessions you have with teams, whatever organization you're in. Imagine just having that, listening to everybody's conversation and then adding to the point. But then I'll take it one step further. It goes into our one person, $1 billion valuation. I'll have 6 of these things all listening to each other, and then be like, okay, so my CMO says this. That's one phone. My CFO says this. So I'm just having all I just need is buy $6,000 worth of iPhones, and that's my C-suite. Maybe I don't even need that. I just have 6 chat GPTs, or I just have one. I don't know how that's going to look, but that'll be crazy to have that kind of interactive session all at once. It's just the application is just a lot.
Right. And to circle that back, that can only happen because you have that information, and that information is coming from a multimodal RAG.
Yeah.
Right. So just to clarify, because the conversation has moved in some really interesting ways, multimodal RAG is the information that it's using to in the generation, right? It's the retrieval augmented. So what it's retrieving can be multi-modes. It actually doesn't address or mean you're asking the question in a particular mode. Although, right, Carl's real estate example is perfect for this, because of course you would say okay, no, this is what I'm looking for, right? like this kind of picture, in addition to, or instead of, I want a fireplace, I want a big fence backyard, I want the things. And right now, multimodal RAG doesn't mean that it responds to you in a RAG outside potentially a voice interface, which doesn't have anything to do with the information that it was trained on. It has to do with that voice layer being embedded in the generation. Does that make sense? Because what I'm thinking, and I keep looking for, is like it's sort of there, but I often like, okay, we're just going to talk about this process, and then it's going to give me text back. And what I would love is if it gave me a process map, right? And you can ask for a process map. It can give you stuff for Mermaid. You can copy and paste that into Mermaid, and Mermaid is going to give you something like that. But that is a little clunky. I mean, it's better than nothing, right? But it is a little clunky, and there are definite limitations because process maps using universal process notation would have like sub levels, which the Mermaid doesn't have the ability to do. I've done it as a table sometimes before, but that kind of thing is not what we're talking about in terms of multimodal RAG. Multimodal RAG is on the back end of what it's retrieving and from its chunking, and then how it's giving you a response, and then how it's like using that as the foundation to generate its response. And right now the generations are not also multimodal in that kind of way.
Well, I think that's where the multimodal RAG. You're right. It's super clunky right now, because one of the things you wanted to test is, hey, let's say the vector database has the bunches of images. So it took a lot of prompting and prying to get this. It's like, show me the image that you associate with this, and it would pop up the image. But can you do audio to image, text to image, image to image, video to image, image to video? Like, all those various pieces are all super clunky right now. And I think, I don't know if in June you might know, because let's say, for example, on just simple ChatGPT or even any type of like RAG system, the screen that it's on, the UI, I don't think supports that playback. Because if I wanted it to play, let's say, a YouTube video, it would give me a link if it's in the training set, but it won't be able to show me the video like a web page would. So
right. It depends on how that interface, if it can support multiple states, right?
Yes.
And so that needs to be built in as a front end UI or UX kind of system to be able to interpret that information. Otherwise, yes, you just get what's there. And this kind of leads back to what we were talking about yesterday with, long-term memory and things like that. Because with long-term memory, then you get a little more of a streaming kind of thing where you can go back and refer to what you were talking about far earlier in the conversation, or continue from multiple sessions. That's the key right there. So, and I think what the current thinking, or at least what we were applying to our own projects, me and Andy were thinking of having a separate interface, still connected, maybe like another frame or something like that, where you could handle multimedia, right? It's specifically designed to pull in whatever that link is and essentially show it to you there. And then that would get updated as needed when the state changes in your primary conversation. So, yeah.
The other thing that I think is to a certain extent a part of this is that LLMs using multimodal data is still using, and audio may not be this true now, but for images and video, it's still using text to describe the data, right? So it understands that it's an image, but it doesn't and I don't know, maybe we do this in our heads too, but it doesn't store the image itself and categorize that. It does a text description of the image and then chunks that and categorizes that. And with video, it does screen captures, like automatically just does screen captures, and obviously the more robust ones will do screen captures closer together, right? Versus like every 20 or every 60 screens, and then it will process that as an image that it describes in text and chunks to a certain extent, right? So I think we're still not quite at a place where it's interacting with the world through like pure visual modality or pure videos are still visual modality. Like that, I think, is as we're moving forward in capabilities, I think we'll get more of that. Now, the reason that I say maybe we do that too is that I don't know that we don't store, but like, I don't know what we do in our heads, how we chunk the data and store it. I know that when I'm thinking of something, it comes to me as an image, and that may be just a back-end process that will happen so quickly for multimodal multimodal LLMs and the ability to interact multimodally using the multimodalities with the user that it may not matter, right? Like what's happening under the hood is not relevant because now the interaction is so seamless, quick, and feels intuitive that that'll come. But so I just want to clarify that we're not there yet. What we're talking about now, which is actually still really amazing, is that the back end process can be more than just text. It can be charts.
It definitely can. It's just it would take longer right now too, right? The processing of extracting that information from an image, let alone a video, it'd be ridiculous because of like, converting an image to text, then chunking it so much faster than chunking. And I don't even know the size of the image that is going to be, put into the training set.
Right.
And then from there, right, extracting what this thing is, and then just having it, and then trying to retrieve it based on query is kind of complex. I'm sure like as those things get faster and better, the multimodal chunking gets better, then I think they could probably simplify it.
Right.
But yeah, right now it's like, then I would imagine that would affect your latency, and then having things being chunked for 5-6 seconds, you're waiting for the answer, is just
Right.
starting to get too long. Although I don't know about the expectations of people saying, hey, I want to see this. Again, we all have to hail Jensen's like Blackwell, because for me, that's the only solution that everyone has to have, is these systems are just going at a much faster clip than what they are now, which they're pretty fast now already.
And it's a little different. So we're going to wrap up, but I just want to say that the processes are a little different if you've used an image generation model, right? They're an antagonistic process. So they're saying, make something that looks like this, and then it doesn't look like it yet. It doesn't look like it yet. It doesn't look like it yet. Oh, now we're getting there. Now it looks like it, and you can, and then it starts to take shape and ultimately becomes the image that you're looking at. That in and of itself is a much slower process than any of the text generations that we expect when we're going back and forth. So there's like that as a separate kind of process in some ways. Okay, so thank you so much for spending some time with us talking about multimodal RAG. Tomorrow, we really hope you're going to come back and join us. It is our 300th show, but we are giving you our predictions for what is dropping in the rest of the fourth quarter, right? Q4, and when we put this show together, the millions of things that have dropped in the last 6 days had not yet dropped. There are still some big things to drop, and so come back because we're gonna all tell you what we think is gonna happen in the rest of the.
You know, there's that OpenAI, one of the OpenAI, I can't remember who that was, said we're moving from September to Shiptober. So I was
Yes.
like, okay, so what? That's exciting. What is going to be shipped in October? And please, not more safety blog posts because no one cares about that.
Ooh, some people do, but yes. Let's have a little balance here. And also after that show, we're testing a new platform. So if you could join us as we move over to the new platform, we'd really love to just do a quick live stream to make sure that comments can come in, and love to get your feedback on that. Because we may be doing that snail thing that we're gonna move out of one shell and go and grab the next shell because it's looking a little better in terms of experience. So thank you very much, and hope to see you tomorrow. You can find us at thedailyAIshow.com. And yeah, have a great day, everybody.
Aloha.